With Caitlin Clark injured, the WNBA will be reliant on their other stars to carry the league. I'm not just talking about ratings. I'm not just talking about attendance. The WNBA will be reliant on their other stars to maintain the interest of the mainstream. With Angel Reese being the only player with mainstream name recognition, most of the pressure, it is going to be on her to perform. And we have plenty of evidence that proves Angel Reese is not qualified to carry the league.
Caitlin Clark's record-breaking rookie season has come to a devastating and premature end, but this wasn't just a freak accident or a stroke of bad luck. This was the inevitable result of a targeted campaign that the WNBA watched unfold all year, fueled by the simmering jealousy of her biggest rival, Angel Reese. The league was warned, fans saw it happening in real time, and now the player who carried women's basketball into a new era is sidelined. In the person at the center of it all, her response has been nothing short of chilling.
Angel Reese, under pressure. When you think about it, there have been so many classic songs written about the WNBA dump. Obviously, Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie, which directly applies to what Angel Reese and her colleagues are going through right now. An immense amount of pressure to carry this dump of a league while Caitlin Clark recovers.
This story really began long before the WNBA back in the 2023 NCAA Championship, when Angel Reese taunted a defeated Caitlin Clark with the "you can't see me" gesture. It wasn't just competitive fire, it was the first shot in a war for the spotlight. That single moment set the stage for a personal vendetta that would follow both players into the pros, transforming a healthy rivalry into something much darker. And what happened next would prove this was just the beginning.
Well, it all started last year, in her rookie season, where she received 20% of all the flagrant fouls in the league. And most of them came from Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky. And these weren't basketball plays. They were not only fouling her, but they were getting up, laughing about it, laughing about Caitlin Clark getting assaulted. Any other work environment, people go to jail for what's going on.
Fast forward to the WNBA draft. Clark was the undisputed #1 pick, hailed as the savior who would elevate the entire league. Meanwhile, Angel Reese was drafted to the rival Chicago Sky, creating a collision course the WNBA couldn't wait to monetize. The league marketed their matchups as the next great sports rivalry, but behind the scenes, a dangerous narrative was taking hold, that the only way to stop Caitlin Clark was not to outplay her, but to physically break her.
Playing a league where you're targeted like that. How do you sit here and profess and demand that everyone take women's sports seriously when you can't even take it seriously enough to not act like a junior high queen on the court? It's stupid. That's so dumb. It looks like a soap opera.
The league got its first taste of this in a game against the Chicago Sky, but the blow didn't come from Reese. It came from her teammate, Chennedy Carter, who delivered a shocking blindside hit on Clark away from the ball. As officials reviewed the play, cameras caught Angel Reese leaping off the bench, not in concern, but in celebration. It was a disturbing image that confirmed what many fans already suspected. This wasn't about basketball anymore.
And last year, I noticed how much it was just Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was taking all the hits. Caitlin Clark was taking all the abuse. But this year they've added Sophie Cunningham. She gets more flagrant fouls on her than anybody in the league besides Caitlin Clark. And Aaliyah Boston, she's been taking hits as well. But the worst thing is the consistency. So they don't call flagrant fouls, or most of the time, Caitlin Clark could be held for an entire game at a time. They don't call fouls. They don't call common fouls.
The league's response to that blatant attack was a disgrace. Carter's foul was initially ruled a common foul before being upgraded to a flagrant 1, a slap on the wrist. This weak punishment sent a clear message to every player in the WNBA. You can take cheap shots at our biggest star, and we will do almost nothing about it. The door was now wide open for the targeting to escalate, and Angel Reese was about to walk right through it.
You spend all this time trying to get respect for your league, and then you do bitch stuff. The only B's out there I see are the B's that are being dramatic about Caitlin Clark. That's all I see. They try so long to get respect for women's basketball, and then they treat it like a junior high school girl's locker room. Junior high school girl antics on the court. Instead of playing the game, they got to be drama because they're jealous. Instead of letting their skills speak for themselves, they got to be drama because they're jealous.
It didn't take long. In their next matchup, Reese made her own move, winding up and striking Clark directly in the head as she went for a layup. Reese immediately tried to downplay it, calling it a simple basketball play. But millions of viewers saw the replay. They saw the intent. The rivalry had officially crossed the line from competitive to dangerous, and Reese's denial only added fuel to the fire.
I mean, it's a gut punch that basically encompasses an entire season of them. The Fever have lost so many players to injury, but obviously none bigger than Clark. And there was such a wait for this second season after her magnificent rookie season. And then, you know, the anticipation of her possibly coming back, only for that not to happen, takes a lot of air out of the room, obviously takes a lot of energy out of the fans, and is a devastating blow for not just the Fever and the WNBA.
That foul ignited a media firestorm that went far beyond sports talk shows. NBA legends, coaches, and celebrities all weighed in. Was this just a welcome to the pros moment, or was the WNBA allowing a toxic environment of jealousy to fester? While the world debated, the league stayed mostly silent, seemingly content to let the drama drive ratings, no matter the cost to its brightest star.
Clark, a two-time All-Star and the 2024 WNBA Rookie of the Year, has been sidelined suffering a right groin injury during the Fever's 87-77 win over the Connecticut Sun on July 15th. If you guys remember that game, Caitlin Clark put the team on her back in the winding minutes to give the Indiana Fever that lead. Clark also suffered a bone bruise at a later date during her recovery process.
But behind the cameras, the physical toll was already mounting. Long before the season-ending announcement, whispers of nagging injuries began to surface. A quad strain here, a turned ankle there. Clark was playing through a level of pain that the public never saw, all while enduring a relentless physical pounding every single night. Her body was sending warning signs, but no one was listening.
Caitlin has worked so hard throughout this time, doing everything possible to recover and return to the court, but ultimately, time is not on our side, said Indiana Fever COO and GM Amber Cox. While we wait, while we will continue working with Caitlin and provide her with every resource we have available, there is not enough time left in our season for her to safely return, and her long-term health and well-being remains our top priority. We are looking forward to having her back at full strength to start the 2026 season. Clark appeared in 13 games during the regular season, averaging 16.5 points, 8.8 assists, and 5 rebounds per game, while helping lead the team to the 2025 WNBA Commissioner's Cup title.
This wasn't just about the highlight reel flagrant fouls, it was about a constant grinding pattern of abuse that never made the nightly news, but was clear to anyone watching closely. Opponents were hammering her on curls, bodying her up before she could even touch the ball, and setting illegal screens designed to inflict maximum impact. It was a strategy of 1,000 cuts. Every shove, every grab, every trip down the floor was a calculated attempt to wear her down. The box score couldn't measure the exhaustion and the bruises from the relentless off-ball war being waged against her.
And this is what Caitlin wrote. I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling. I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. The way fans continue to show up for me in the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I'm so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through the adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot in the playoffs.
This exposed the WNBA's truly dangerous game. The league was running commercials celebrating the Caitlin Clark effect, plastering her face on every promotion, and reaping the rewards of sold-out arena. They were selling the Clark versus Reese rivalry as must-see TV, but on the court, they were allowing that rivalry to become a one-sided assault. They were sacrificing their golden goose for short-term profit.
My inside sources are telling me that Mama Reese demands free tickets. The Chicago Bravado, they happily oblige because They're also giving away free tickets to the other dozen or so people that show up to the arena.
Then came the first major crack in the armor. Clark was suddenly listed on the injury report with a significant strain, forcing her to miss time. The team tried to calm fans, calling the move precautionary, but anyone watching knew the truth. This wasn't a precaution, it was a consequence. The constant barrage of hits, bumps, and cheap shots was finally catching up to her, and the foundation was beginning to crumble.
Angel Reese is now quoted as saying, "I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we're watching women's basketball is not just because of one person." She refuses to say Caitlin Clark's name. "It's because of me too, and I want you to realize that."
As criticism mounted against the league and its players, Angel Reese didn't back down. She doubled down. In interviews, she embraced the villain role, arguing that she and the league's physicality were just as responsible for the WNBA's growth as Clark was. Her words dripped with resentment, painting a picture of a player obsessed with sharing a spotlight she hadn't earned.
Shoved and battered every possession like Clark was. And when Clark finally broke down, Reese wanted to talk about herself.
"Sorry, young lady, nobody knows who you are. Nobody would be watching the WNBA additionally for you. This is all about Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is bringing the money to the game, the planes to the game, the TV viewership. The WNBA is on fire because of Caitlin Clark."
And the media was more than happy to help her build this narrative. Sports networks turned the rivalry into a circus, constantly running segments debating the physicality and framing Reese's aggression as passion or competitiveness. They profited from every controversial foul, using the drama to drive clicks and viewership while largely ignoring the long-term danger to Clark. Instead of calling for player safety, they fueled the flames because a bitter rivalry sells better than a clean game.
Her rookie year with the Chicago Bravado, the numbers were eerily similar. It was around 88% capacity. Angel Reese averaged around 8,700 a game. Going into 2025, Angel Reese was the only star in the secondary dump unrivaled. For the first time in her career, it was her opportunity to prove that she could draw. It was her opportunity to prove that she did not need Caitlin Clark to draw an audience. What was the end result? Unrivaled averaged 221,000 viewers. For reasons unknown, the mainstream media called this a resounding success. The rest of us called it huge embarrassing failure.
And then, the moment every fan had been dreading, the official announcement came down. Caitlin Clark's season was over. A bone bruise, a torn ligament, the specific injury didn't matter. It was the predictable, tragic conclusion to a season where she was treated more like a target than a peer. The league had been warned, and now their biggest asset was gone.
We've got Colin Cowherd saying, "You know what? Guess what I didn't talk about on my show this year? The WNBA. Guess why? He just come out and said it yesterday. Because Caitlin Clark was not playing. That's why." He said, "I led my show, my biggest, largest national sports radio show in the country. I led my show with Caitlin Clark 6 times last year." I mean, you don't lead a show with anybody unless they can draw.
The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. The Clark effect, which had propped up the entire league, vanished in an instant. Tickets for upcoming games, especially those against the Indiana Fever, plummeted on resale markets. Venues that had moved games to NBA arenas to accommodate Clark's massive draw were now facing a sea of empty seats. The WNBA's financial bubble had just burst.
The ticket prices, the demand fell off a cliff. And it's not just the on-court product that suffers without number 22, Caitlin Clark. The entire weekend's economic opportunities have felt the fallout.
But the damage went far beyond ticket sales. Major brands like Nike, Gatorade, and State Farm had invested millions in sponsorship deals centered around Caitlin Clark. Suddenly, the face of their campaigns was on the sidelines, and the national broadcasts they'd paid for were featuring matchups in half-empty arenas. The league's failure to protect Clark wasn't just a PR crisis, it was a financial disaster that left their corporate partners questioning their investment.
They could have easily said 2 months, 1 to 2 months. Be evaluated in the next 6 weeks. Instead, they played this day-to-day, game-time decision, probable, questionable nonsense for the last 8 weeks. And that is why fans are so pissed off for the most part. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I know if they were upfront and didn't BS us, people wouldn't be that angry at the organization, at least not as angry as they are now.
In the wake of this disaster, Angel Reese had a chance to show grace, to rise above the rivalry and offer support. She did the opposite. When asked about Clark's injury, she pivoted to talking about how the league had so many other stars and that it was time for them to shine. Her comments were seen as shockingly cold and tone-deaf, confirming the jealousy narrative for millions. What was just as deafening was the silence from other veteran players in the league. While a few offered quiet support, the vast majority of the WNBA's established stars said nothing. Their silence was widely interpreted as tacit approval of the brutal welcome Clark received. It created a chilling atmosphere, suggesting that many were content to watch the newcomer get torn down, proving to fans that the jealousy ran far deeper than just one rival. This was the final straw for the fans. The anger that had been simmering all season boiled over into organized action. The hashtag WNBA boycott began trending as fans vowed to leave seats empty for playoff games, particularly those involving the Chicago Sky. They felt betrayed not just by the league, but by a rival who seemed to celebrate their hero's downfall. It all comes back to a deeply rooted system of hypocrisy. The WNBA happily sold Clark's number 22 jersey and boasted about her record-setting television ratings. But when she was on the court, getting hammered by players resentful of her fame, the referees' whistles fell silent. They cashed the checks she brought in, but refused to provide her with the protection she deserved. Now the league is left in shambles. Without Clark, the ratings are sinking. The buzz has faded, and the momentum she built has ground to a halt. The very growth that Angel Reese claimed to be a part of has evaporated overnight, exposing just how fragile the league's success truly was and how much it relied on the one player they failed to protect. This has also put Angel Reese's own future in a precarious position. The villain persona that once earned her headlines is now seen by many as a liability. Has her obsession with tearing down Clark backfired? With fans actively boycotting her games and brands potentially shying away from her controversial image, she may find that the spotlight she so desperately craved has become a harsh and unforgiving glare. Ultimately, this disaster was never about a single injury. It's a cautionary tale about what happens when a league values controversy over its players, and when professional jealousy is allowed to turn into on-court aggression. The question isn't just when Caitlin Clark will return, but whether the WNBA will ever learn its lesson before it's too late. Let us know what you think down in the comments.